Hi, this is Dimitrios Kostopoulos and the podcast, Your Practice, Your Money, where clinical success meets financial freedom. And you see me being outdoors, outside the American Physical Therapy Association headquarters here in Alexandria, Virginia, where Hands On Diagnostics is having its annual symposium. So you are going to see a series of a few podcasts in the next few weeks where I will be speaking from the headquarters with several members of Hands On Diagnostics and others, and we will brief you for a lot of things and how these people are creating amazing success for their practices. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in a moment. Welcome to the 12th annual HODS Symposium. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Hands On Diagnostics, also the American Academy of Clinical Electrodiagnosis and the American Academy of Musculoskeletal Ultrasound, it is my privilege to open this year's symposium, a gathering that has become the defining annual event for clinicians who are shaping the future of our profession. I'm also bringing you Kostas' best regards and wishes for a successful symposium. Unfortunately, he's handling a family emergency, and if possible, he will be joining us virtually. Today, we are not just as attendees, but contributors to a movement that is transforming physical therapy into one of the most powerful, evidence-based, and diagnostically capable healthcare professions in the United States and around the world. This weekend is about learning, collaboration, and vision, a celebration of the extraordinary journey we've shared and the future we are building together. As we gather here today, it's worth reflecting on how far we've come. When Hands On Diagnostics was founded, the vision was clear: to empower physical therapists to take their rightful place as diagnostic leaders. Clinicians who not only treat dysfunction, but identify its root cause through objective, evidence-based testing. Back then, the idea seemed revolutionary. Few believed that physical therapists could or should perform electromyography, nerve conduction studies, or musculoskeletal ultrasound imaging. But today, the skepticism has been replaced by respect, by evidence, and most of all, by results. HODS now represents over 245 clinics across 32 states. Our network includes hundreds of trained clinicians, dozens of board-certified electrophysiologic specialists, and a growing number of fellows and residents whose skill and integrity are redefining what diagnostic physical therapy looks like. Our impact is no longer theoretical, it's measurable, and it is transformative. Over the past decade, we have seen a seismic shift in the awareness of diagnostic testing within the physical therapy community. In 2013, a national survey found that only 3% of physical therapists even knew they could perform these diagnostic procedures, and only 2% knew they could bill and be reimbursed for them. Today, those numbers have grown exponentially. A 2024 survey shows that 75% of physical therapists now know these services are within their scope, and 62% understand the process for billing and reimbursement. That is not random progress. That is the direct result of your collective effort, your commitment to education, your mentorship, your advocacy, and your leadership. Through the residency programs and fellowship programs, through publications like Diagnostics for PT, through our clinical rounds, webinars, and symposiums, HODS has become the educational engine behind this transformation. Our programs have produced more than 300 diplomates, hundreds of advanced diagnostic practitioners, and this past year, 15 out of the 18 new ABPTS board-certified electrophysiologic specialists in the United States, 84% of the total number of VCS achievers were HODS graduates. We will be celebrating them later this afternoon. And that achievement alone is historic. It's proof that our residency and mentorship model doesn't just match the rigor of traditional medical pathways, it often exceeds them. Our recent published white paper, Raising the Standard, Competency of Physical Therapist Residency Training in Clinical Electrophysiology and Opportunities for PT Physician Collaboration, documents what many of us have witnessed firsthand. Physical therapists who complete the HODS Clinical Electrophysiology Residency receive over 2,000 hours of structured education, perform 300 to 500 graded EMG NCS cases, and achieve board certification at a rate exceeding 90%, higher than national physician averages. Meanwhile, surveys of neurology and physical medicine and rehabilitation residencies reveal wide variability in EMG exposure. Many residents perform fewer than 200 studies and some as few as 10. Similar standards exist for our MSK Ultrasound Fellowship Program, or I would say real fellowship program. Because lately, there are some who have a student in a classroom for a few days without mentorship, without coaching, without real clinical practice, and they award fellowship certificates, damaging significantly the physical therapy profession. That is, though, a talk for another time. Or tune into my weekly podcast, yourpracticeyourmoney.com, and listen how I'm addressing this and many other pertinent issues. So, what does all this mean? It means that our training model is not only rigorous, it's setting the benchmark for competency and accountability in electrodiagnostic medicine and MSK ultrasound technology. And the results speak for themselves. EMG and nerve conduction studies performed by physical therapists changed patient management in more than 60% of cases and altered the diagnosis in nearly 40%, as published in the Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies. That is not theory, that is impact. This past year also brought some of the most important regulatory and legislative progress that we have seen, and I want to recognize the leadership and partnership of APTA and the private practice section of APTA who have stood shoulder to shoulder with us through this journey. In Arizona, North Dakota, and Rhode Island, new legislation has formally expanded physical therapist authority to order diagnostic imaging, empowering clinicians to provide more complete and efficient care. And just recently, on September 10th, the North Carolina Physical Therapy Board of Examiners voted unanimously to recognize ultrasound imaging as within the scope of physical therapy practice, a major victory for the profession and for every patient who deserves timely, accurate musculoskeletal evaluation. So HODS has stood at the forefront of many of these changes, providing data, educational standards, and real-world evidence that have guided advocacy and influenced policy. At the same time, HODS has been actively collaborating with APTA to secure full federal recognition of physical therapists as musculoskeletal ultrasound providers under Medicare and other national systems. This is one of the key steps toward our long-term vision of equal diagnostic authority and reimbursement parity across all payers. Each of these wins represents another brick in the foundation of our long-term vision, a profession where physical therapists serve as frontline diagnosticians for neuromusculoskeletal problems. At the same time, we must be clear-eyed about the environment in which we practice. The next 3 to 5 years will be defined by both challenge and opportunity. Healthcare consolidation will continue. Private equity groups and hospital networks are purchasing independent practices at record rates. By 2028, nearly half of all outpatient rehab centers could be under corporate control. Payment pressures will persist. Medicare physician fee schedule continues to undervalue therapy services. Administrative burdens grow heavier each year, while labor shortages and rising costs squeeze private practice margins. We are facing significant workforce shortages and recruitment challenges that make it harder for independent practices to compete with large systems. But amid this turbulence, there is golden opportunity. We are entering a period where value and verification matter more than volume. Payers, employers, and patients all want proof of diagnosis, proof of effectiveness, proof of cost control. Clinics that remain just therapy providers will continue to compete on price. Clinics that evolve into diagnostic centers of excellence will compete on expertise, accuracy, and results. And I repeat that. Clinics that remain just therapy providers, no matter how small or big those clinics or organizations are, still they will continue competing on price. However, clinics that evolve, smaller or bigger clinics or organizations, into diagnostic centers of excellence will compete on expertise, accuracy, and results, opening the door for greater opportunities in the healthcare system. So diagnostics, therefore, are no longer an optional add-on. They are a strategic necessity, both clinically and economically. By integrating EMG nerve conduction studies and musculoskeletal ultrasound, you elevate your role from a therapist to diagnostician, and from just a provider to a partner in care. You strengthen your relationships with referring physicians and employers, and you make your practice indispensable in a value-driven healthcare system. Within HODS itself, this has been a year of pivotal transformation. After careful consideration and strategic evaluation of market conditions in New York, Kostas and I made the decision to sell the physical therapy component of the Hands On organization to Confluent Health Motion PT. This decision allows us to sharpen our focus and what truly defines our future: Hands On EMG, Hands On Diagnostics, Catalyst, Physical Therapy and Diagnostics, and the continuous elevation of our educational and clinical mission. Far from a conclusion, this is an expansion, one that will enable faster growth, broader partnerships, and deeper impact nationwide. We are now working on new nationwide initiatives that will positively affect all HODS members. Two of these programs are already underway. One is diagnostic testing programs in assisted living facilities, where HODS members bring EMG and MSK ultrasound directly to older adults to detect neuropathies, muscle atrophy, and fall risk before they lead to disability. And number two, preventive diagnostic programs for employers using EMG and ultrasound to identify early signs of muscle or nerve overuse before injuries occur, improving workforce health and reducing compensation costs. These initiatives represent the next phase of what we've always believed. Diagnostics are not only about treating disease, but about preventing it. On top of that, to help in the faster dissemination of diagnostics across the country, we are introducing an introductory 2-day EMG course that will be available at a low cost to healthcare providers and totally free to HODS members and their staff. One of the most important developments of this year came from APTA, which officially announced the creation of a primary care physical therapy certification program through ABPTS, with the first examination planned for 2028. This is a monumental step for our profession. For decades, we have advocated that physical therapists should be recognized as primary access providers, the professionals who patients trust to evaluate, diagnose, and manage musculoskeletal and neuromuscular conditions from start to finish. But primary care physical therapy cannot exist without diagnostics. EMG and ultrasound empower physical therapists to deliver faster, more accurate, and life-changing care. These are the tools that make primary care physical therapy real, tools that transform the therapist into the diagnostician, the clinician of first resort, not last. That is why I am announcing for first time that before the end of this year, HODS will formally apply for candidacy with ABPTRFE to establish a residency program in primary care physical therapy. This will open new exciting opportunities for our members. The ability to pursue dual residencies in clinical electrophysiology and primary care physical therapy, achieving an even higher level of recognition and influence in your communities as the primary care diagnostic physical therapists. You will be the professionals patients seek out first, the clinicians capable of managing the entirety of musculoskeletal conditions from diagnosis to treatment to prevention. And as I repeat every year for the past 12 years in this forum, and I will continue repeating it until we make it a reality, the vision of HODS has always been and will continue to be that physical therapists achieve full physician status recognition by CMS, the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. We believe that recognition of PTs as primary care providers will ultimately lead to that goal. We will continue to be the champions of this cause as we have been for more than a decade. Before I move to the closing remarks, I want to recognize the individuals who make the mission of HODS a daily reality. Our faculty mentors, and administrators. I want to recognize your diligence, your mentorship, and your commitment to excellence. They are the backbone of our educational, clinical, and business success. You are helping to fulfill the very purposes of which HODS was created. So thank you. And of course, I must acknowledge someone whose influence is woven into the very DNA of this organization. That is Mr. Craig Ferreira, entrepreneur, visionary, and longtime advocate for private practice physical therapist, who has been inducted into the HODS Hall of Fame. Last year, we recognized Craig with the HODS Entrepreneurship Award, honoring his leadership, business acumen, and the inspiration he has provided to private practice owners across the country. He received this recognition from the members of our board and the entire HODS organization, a well-deserved tribute to his enduring contributions. And although Craig is no longer serving on the HODS board of directors, his leadership and friendship were instrumental in building the foundation of this organization. His legacy continues to guide us, our growth, our mission, and our commitment to the advancement of our profession. On behalf of the board of directors and our entire HODS family, Craig, we extend our deepest appreciation and congratulations to you. Friends and colleagues, as we open this 12th annual HODS Symposium, we stand at a defining moment for both our profession and our organization. We face economic headwinds, regulatory barriers, and workforce challenges, but we also hold the tools, the training, and the conviction to lead the next chapter of healthcare. Diagnostics are not just transforming physical therapy, they are anchoring it at the center of modern medicine. Every test we perform, every patient we help, every result we deliver strengthens our collective credibility and advances our profession's place in the healthcare system. The next 10 years will be the decade in which physical therapy becomes recognized as a primary care profession for the neuromusculoskeletal system. And HODS will continue to be the driving force making that vision a reality. We are deeply thankful to APTA for everything they are doing to advance our profession and allowing us to host this event at APTA headquarters, the home of all physical therapists. It is important for every PT to be an APTA member, to participate in advocacy, and to lend their voice to the ongoing efforts that strengthen our professional future. To all of you, our members, faculty, mentors, administrators, and presenters, thank you for your relentless commitment. To our sponsors and partners, thank you for fueling this mission. Together, we're building a profession defined not by limitations, but by leadership. Together, we are shaping a healthcare future guided by technology, collaboration, and compassion. And so, with immense pride and great optimism, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I officially declare the 12th Annual HODS Symposium open. Thank you for joining me in today's episode of Your Practice, Your Money, where clinical success meets financial freedom. If you found value in today's episode, please remember to subscribe here or on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify or YouTube. And please leave us a review and share about our podcast to your friends and colleagues, because this can help more practice owners to add value to their practices and solve everyday problems. For more strategies, resources, and tools to help you grow both your clinical impact and your financial freedom, head over to www.yourpracticeyourmoney.com. Until next time, keep building the practice and the life you deserve. Take care.